everyone, and welcome to a brand new podcast of the Actionable Case Study. I am doing this episode today and very excited about the topic we're going to be discussing today. Your business is losing 30% of its revenue right now unless you fix this. That's the title of our episode. And today I have with me my special guest, Ryan Carris. Ryan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing really well. How are you, Benai?
I'm doing super. Now, for everyone who might be joining in or just kind of joining us, I'd like to start out with a big question. I always like to start out with these questions that kind of give a scope and size and scale to what we're doing on this episode and what we're going to be discussing. And before we start, I want to tell you that on the right-hand side of the screen, it's usually on the right-hand side of the screen, you will see a comment box. So make this interactive. You agree, you disagree, you love what we're saying, give us a thumbs up, give us a comment. Let us know what you're thinking and what's going through your mind. I'm curious because that's just the kind of guy I am. I'm curious what other people are thinking, how they see things. So I want to start out with this big statement to make sure that you're in the right place and that you're going to get some value out of what our discussion is. It's going to start with this statement, and I want you to imagine for a second here. For every $4 that you're spending paying your team in your organization today, $1 is effectively being wasted on an inefficiency. So every $4, one of those things is going right down the drain. And to me, that's a shocking statistic. But the fact is, that's the reality for most businesses. That's a lot of money. Inefficiencies are silently costing organizations up to 30% of their revenue. Not only is that dollar being wasted, that is costing you 30% of your revenue. So what I'd like to hear from you, if you're joining in, listening in, as an audience, is do you think this is true for your organization? Do you feel like there's a dollar that's just being thrown away every moment of every day that your business operates? Please go to the comments and tell me, do you think that's the case? Because I want to give you a little more depth to that question. Where do you think that $1 is going in your business or your organization? Is it going to meetings? Is it going to administrative work? Is it going to technology? Where is it going? Please type that into the comments. And Ryan, I would love to, this is kind of your domain, finding efficiency and inefficiencies in organizations. When I say that to you, that $1 is going the drain or 30% of revenue is lost, what comes to mind with some of what you've done in the past? What do you start thinking?
Sure. There's a lot of people. The greatest part of my job is I get to network with businesses full time. And every business in the world has a problem to solve, or every business in the world wants to get better. And I was speaking with a client yesterday who is an insurance salesman, or they're you're an insurance lady, right? And she's got 750 clients and all different types: auto, life, home, all those different types of things. And she was telling me that for every new home insurance policy that her company sells, she has to go to the property and take at least 2 photos of it as an inspection. So her office is in Morrisville, and let's say that one of her clients has a house out in Nightdale or in Wake Forest. She's got maybe a 2-hour round trip getting her work done to go and take those photos. And it's her time, right? It's not something that she can take to one of her CSRs or something like that. So while she's out, she told me the amount of emails and inquiries and phone calls that she gets while she's out could be 10, 12, maybe as many as 20 different clients that are trying to get in touch with her. But the funny part about this is this home was just for sale, right? Someone, a professional photographer, just went and took, I don't know, 20 or more pictures of it and posted it online on an MLS listing of the house. So there's already enough photos of this house to sell it to somebody. Why does she need to go? And how much of her money or time is lost in this process? So there's a lot to figure out there. It's insurance companies, it's regulated and things like that. But that's really where we're starting. She's losing every time a house policy at least 2 or 3 hours of her time just to take photos that are already available.
That's a fantastic story. I want to kind of ask the audience here as you're listening into this. I'm wondering if you're kind of hearing that, and from an outside party looking in, it almost to some degree seems kind of obvious to me that, hey, why don't you get someone else who's already taken the photo or go take the photos for you so you can spend time in the office getting that next level of productivity. But for
Hmm.
in that role, they're too close to the action, right? The cook is already in the kitchen. They can't see what's kind of seeing from the outside. I'm
Hmm.
curious in the comments, could you see in that story yourself? Did it seem obvious to you what those inefficiencies might be in that organization and how you might be able to step forward and step past those inefficiencies? Give me a give me a yes or no if you saw that, or share a story. I'd love to hear about you as well. Because here's what I'm going to do in today's episode. As much as I want it to be interactive, I want to take you through a little bit of a journey here because we've got a case study of a company. It's real data. We've anonymized the information. And Ryan and I have already taken some time to look through this company to start to identify what those inefficiencies in that organization are and how you can quickly identify them, maybe in as fast as 3 minutes, really fast. Right? So I want to take you through this, but I'd love to hear what you're thinking. Are you seeing that inefficiency yourself? Have you experienced inefficiencies or feel like there's inefficiencies in your business? Because those comments would be really valuable, I think, for both Ryan and I to understand a little bit more about you. Um, so before I start to talk about Ryan's expertise, let me tell you a little bit about myself. Uh, my name is Vinay Raman. I'm the CEO of Carmo. We're a company that's focused on helping understand the alignment and misalignment in organizations. And if you've ever heard the term "a picture's worth 1,000 words," we use data analytics and emotions to visualize the alignment, the perception, and misalignment of an organization. If the left wheel of a car is going left and the right wheel of a car is going right, it doesn't matter how much power you have in that car, those wheels are fighting each other. If there's misalignment in the perception of individuals in an organization, there's inefficiency because they're going in different directions. Part of why I'm excited about this podcast and this episode, because that's exactly what Ryan figures out. So my background is in artificial intelligence, machine learning, math, computer science. The joke I make is 20 years ago, everyone used to say, "Who invited this guy?" Nobody wanted to talk to me back then. But today, it seems like people have got some questions regarding AI, artificial intelligence, machine learning. How does it work? So, as a company, we build tools that help coaches, consultants, and leaders of companies understand the alignment and misalignment. And we're going to show you a case study today. We're going to give you some diagnostic tools so you can quickly identify what those alignments and misalignments in your organization are. Um, let's see. The key to all this though is after you walk away from this, I want you to be able to have some actionable results where you can say, what is now possible having a conversation with being part of this conversation with Ryan and I. Ryan's going to be doing a lot of the educating in terms of how you can look at things. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to post here in the comments. I'm going to post a link to get in touch with Ryan. If you would like to learn more about Ryan, please take a moment and type that into the platform. Click on that link to get to Ryan. And if you'd like to connect with me for the course of this episode, you can also click that link as well. So, question I want to ask everybody, because I want to start to tell you a little more about Ryan in a second here. Excuse me. Have you ever wondered how much inefficiency, excuse me, might be silently costing your business or your organization money? Have you ever thought one time, as this lady who runs this insurance agency, what might be just an ineffective use of my time? Ryan, I want to kind of start first there because the tools alone don't solve the problems. They need expertise to turn those insights into action. And that's why I'm thrilled about our episode today. You, Ryan, do you think a lot of leaders of organizations, leaders at any level of an organization, often just kind of have this gut feel that something's wrong and I just don't know how to make it better? Have you ever felt like that's the case?
Yeah, I do, because the way that people traditionally try to solve problems at work isn't always 100% effective. So, one of the major ways that businesses try to solve problems is they hire experts. So if I own an insurance company, I could hire an insurance expert or a paperwork, someone who knows the regulation and industry. If I own a chemical manufacturing company, I hire the best and brightest scientists or engineers. So expertise is a major way to solve business problems. The other way to solve business problems is to leverage authority. So I need something done, and I'm the COO, CEO, or I'm the manager of the department. I'm going to find a way to get it done by making policies, procedures, standard work, or maybe I'll have memoranda or any number of different ways of getting things done. But that doesn't always mean that expertise and authority can solve every problem. And I think that people, what they're sensing is that my traditional methodology is not working here. I hired the expert. I'm the CEO. I have all the authority I could ever need in this company, and we're still not getting done what we need to get done. And what they're sensing is there's a third party sort of not part of this conversation.
Here's the key point I want to kind of distill from what Ryan just shared. And I'd love to hear this from the audience if you feel this too. And when we did a pre-conversation, Ryan, we actually talked about this a little bit, about this hierarchical bias in decision and influence in decision making.
Mhm.
Look, it's the CEO, it's the boss, right? And the
Mhm.
boss is saying, hey, this is what we want to do. And it really kind of, to some degree, doesn't matter what I say, because the boss kind of gets the final word on things. And
Mhm.
if only there were a way to sort of separate out or tease out what is that leadership influence or the hierarchical influence to what the real decision that needs to be made, that
Mhm.
would be power. And sometimes bringing in that third party, someone such as yourself, who can kind of look at that and say, "Hey, well, see, here's the real problem that I'm seeing." I'd be kind of curious for the audience. Have you all experienced that? Have you ever felt that before? Do you ever wonder, as a leader, as a coach or consultant for organizations, if you can pull that apart or tease that out? Ryan, what are your thoughts on that topic? Did I say that right?
Yeah, so the third party is sort of the continuous improvement. The third party is getting the creative, collaborative input from all levels of your organization. Because a lot of that hidden cost that companies are losing is because so and so in the business doesn't understand that that part of their job is no longer necessary, or that part of their job doesn't actually add value to the company anymore. So the best permanent solutions that are positive for companies come from the creative input across all the levels of the organization. And I want to draw a contrast between projects and events. So most of the time when a business wants to make an improvement, they will have a project. And projects are led by experts. An expert is somebody who's got all of the hard skills that are necessary to execute the project. And the expert manages from a top-down fashion by disseminating instructions to people who go and do the work. And projects usually take 6 to 8 months, maybe 12 months. And at the end of that time period, the business realizes the value of the work that they're doing. And it's all based off of hard skills and competency. The contrast I want to draw is to an event. An event is led by a layman. It's led by somebody who has the soft skills to derive the creative input from all the people that already work at the company. The point of the event is consensus and collaboration to arrive at something that is beneficial and positive for the company, and it's based off of the soft skills, and it results in rapid improvement. That's where the term Kaizen comes from, rapid improvement event. And one of my old mentors used to say, there is no leader. I mean, you can pick somebody from the business who is going to represent a different function like maintenance, supervision, engineering, something like that. But the Kaizen event is where there's no leadership, there's no hierarchy, and what arises out of that is the collaboration that results in permanent improvements.
Hmm.
So my role as a Lean Six Sigma black belt is to facilitate those things. And there are many tools with which you can do that. Kaizen is one of them. Lean has a lot of those particular tools, like creating flow, um, uh, um, continuous root cause analysis, problem solving, that kind of stuff. But that's really the role as I see it. That's that third party I'm referring to.
Love again to call the audience if there are questions that you have for Ryan or what we're saying. Would love additional clarity. Please chime in. Feel free. Would love to add that additional dimensionality to make sure that this is a highly valuable use of your time. Because I want to make a little bit of a transition here. I want to start to show you some practical applications of what Ryan does and how he can kind of start to look at things in a way that I think is going to um, shift how you are able to start to look at your own business
Well,
potentially with
could I
yeah
introduce myself
yeah
and
yeah
say a little bit about what I do?
that's actually what I wanted to do right now.
Okay, great.
Let me say a couple things and you tell me if I get it all right. So Ryan is a what I call a lean efficiency catalyst. Specializes in operational improvement, helping businesses streamline their processes and unlock hidden growth opportunities. He's got more than 10 years guiding organizations to transform those inefficiencies into measurable improvements using some of the tool sets that you've talked about.
Mhm.
I call it data driven expertise. Ryan's approach combines using data insights, process mapping, and empowering teams to deliver those sustainable results. You've got a track record of doing this, right? From uncovering those inefficiencies to reclaiming that lost revenue. You help businesses achieve that transformational success. And the last thing I'll say, just because I want to try to compress a lot of your background into a couple of bullet points that people can understand, but hopefully kind of compacted it way people can understand it. Passion for empowering teams. And I think this is really the most important one to me.
Yeah.
Your work is more than about the numbers, like the third party that you're talking about, right? The person who is about leading that event. It's not about the leadership, it's about beyond the numbers. Committed to building stronger, more efficient organizations by aligning processes and people. Ryan, did I cover all the points there? There's some points that I've left out there.
Yeah, no, you got it. So I'm the president of LeanWorks LLC. My business is helping companies get better. Like I said, every business in the world wants to get better, and I want to be a part of it. And the way that I think of it is I get excited about the details, and I want to know if your business actually works. And everyone's, what I call what I do business model development. And everyone's familiar with employee development. That means you go and you get a certification, or you take a training class, or you upskill your employees. Well, what about when you need to upskill your business model, the way that your business actually works? So my job is to collaborate with executives, leadership teams, and business owners to develop their business model or work on the business rather than in it. So I'm an American Society for Quality Certified Six Sigma Black Belt, which basically means mastery in the statistical tools that are used to use the data-driven approach to derive the right answer for companies based off of data using their operating system. And then I'm also a certified lean leader, which I got with the last organization I was at, to facilitate using soft skills change management to lead that collaborative input from everybody on the team. So my background is with $1 billion multinational publicly traded company. So I cut my teeth, so to speak, leading large multi-million-dollar initiatives for change and growth. And now I work directly as an independent with business owners.
So here's what I'm going to translate that into language that kind of comes to me, right, or what I
Mhm.
hear out of all that. In lots of times that I've worked in organizations, there's sort of the right hand that understands all the data and the metrics and the numbers, and then there's the left hand that understands sort of I might have those swapped there. The left hand, which is more the soft skills, right, the kind of
Mhm.
softer components of things. What you're able to do now is bring those things together and integrate them together. It's not
Yeah.
just about the data. It's not just about the soft skills. It's about both those things together and how those. Uh, I did this math problem for someone and they said this doesn't make sense, and I said you're absolutely right because you're looking at it from a numbers point of view. Is
Mhm.
this is the numbers are 85% right, and the people's and the emotions and their soft skills are 85% right. But when you get those things together, you become 150%. And they said, I don't know what that means, but I was like, that's because you're still thinking about the numbers. It's an amplifier of capacity and capability when integrated together. Is that a reasonable way to say that, Ryan?
Yeah, absolutely. It's not a given that you can tie those things together. And I can tell you from experience, it's not easy to do. And if you are going to take just imagine that your dad works at the chemical plant and he's had his 10th smoke break by, or, by the end of the day, those people are the ones that are actually creating the value for your company. How do you lead them in a positive way to change the way they work to create more value for them and the company? It's not a given, and you can't take it for granted.
Yeah. Here's what I want to do. I want to show some. There's a diagnostic tool that we have that allows you to start. I want to talk about two words first: directional versus deterministic. And let me tell you why I bring up those words. Deterministic usually means here's the end point, right? This is where we are going, and that is the definition. We're going to Disney World with my family, and I'm parking in parking lot A, space number 138. That's deterministic. It's a definitive, finite end. Directional in my mind is, hey, I'm going south because I live in North Carolina. I got to go south to Walt Disney World. I've got to determine to be directionally correct first before I can be deterministic, right? Because that is the path that I'm going to follow to get to that deterministic end. Slot number 138 in parking lot D in Walt Disney World. I want to show you some visuals. And what these visuals do is in about 3 minutes, give you a directional understanding, just a general, hey, I got to go south with each individual on a team. The reason I want to show you this is because it just kind of gives you a quick snapshot of, hey, is the rest of the team pointed north when we should be going south? And if we do, that starts to tell you, well, Ryan, I would love to hear from you as I bring this up. If you start to see that people are rowing in different directions, is there inefficiency there? I like to think yes. As I'm bringing that up, I'd love to hear what your thoughts on that topic are, Ryan.
Sure.
What do you think? If we've got people going in different directions, is there potential inefficiency built in?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I think it was Deming, the father of quality management systems, that said 94% of the inefficiencies in a business are process related. So your business has some model with which it used to get to where it is now, right? But markets change, opportunities come up, and so your model needs to develop. And all that process is derived from people, and all those processes are run and managed by people, administered by people. And so, how do you, if you're not doing the right things in certain departments, and a lot of the businesses that I work with now don't operate under one roof. So, take for example a company that does mold remediation. So their job is to go out and they're going to be cleaning a commercial space for mold. Maybe somebody bought it, something like that. So if for some reason there's an error in the work order, right? So the instructions that were delivered to the field staff that is omitting something that needs to be done because of some intake or pre-qualification error that happened in customer service, then what will happen is, unbeknownst to the field crew, and usually these buildings are empty, they will make a mistake or miss something with the job. And then they leave and they go on to the next job. They get scheduled for the next thing. And then the customer arrives and say, hey, I needed the bathrooms done, or the crawl space was missed, or who knows what it was. The amount of cost that this company is going to incur to, one, save face with this customer, two, go back and correct their records, three, change their schedule for any upcoming work to send that crew back to redo the work and whatever consumables are involved. The amount of cost that's involved in that is significant, not to mention the missed opportunities that they could have been making money on elsewhere. The one thing I would add, Vinay, is that companies may be losing 30% of their revenue, but generally the money lost is much smaller than the opportunity that's out there if you could go get it.
Yeah.
Another example, a client of mine, he has an administrative person spending 2 hours per day correcting invoices.
Wow.
And so, if you take this person's hourly rate, they're spending about $1,800 a month or so just correcting invoices.
Okay.
And that's from incorrect field notes. And my question to this business owner was, what would this person be doing if they weren't correcting these field notes? Could they be selling? Could they be cold calling? And so the total opportunity for that business owner was $377,000 when you look at it that way.
So I love that example for a couple of reasons, because it kind of shows you how oftentimes we're looking at sort of this band-aid solution to a problem when it actually occurred so far upstream that it's just kind of been propagated throughout the process. And you can't help. Someone told me once, if you don't ask the right question, you can never get the right answer. And if
Hmm.
that right question is not being asked in the beginning of the process, guess what? You're going to have a failure in the end, regardless. And the cost, as you kind of laid out here, is
Hmm. It's a
significant.
lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars, and that's for a company that is about $1.4 million in total revenue per year. So it's a small business. If your business is doing $50 million or more in sales per year, you're losing millions on things like
So here's what I want to do is I want to transition a little bit here because I want to show you an example of how you can see something. So there's a diagnostic that we create, and these diagnostics create visuals. And the reason I want to show you these visuals, I want to start to show you how different members of the same leadership team of this company called ClearPath Enterprises. I'm going to scroll through this in a second here. In this case study report, it's actually real data from a company, just been anonymized. Right? We've de-identified the company and the individuals in the company. And if you'd like to get this case study, I'd be more than happy to send it to you. Type in case study into the comments, and I will send it to you. If you're listening to the replay, no problem. Just type in pound replay and then case study, and I'll make sure to send it to you, just so I know when you were listening. So so this diagnostic creates in 3 minutes creates a visual of individuals. I'm going to scroll forward a little bit here. I'm going to skip forward a little bit to where I get to the information. This 50-page report tells you about all the different individuals on this team. And I'm going to start here. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit, just make it a little bit easier for us to see. So let me just tell you how to read this so you understand what you're looking at, because I want Ryan maybe to spend a little bit of time for you telling me what you see here as you see this. Okay.
that.
So we've got Elias Jaden. This is a company that creates some omni-channel products in the retail space. It almost kind of doesn't matter what they do. It's the fact that this is their perception of how their business is running is what matters here.
Hmm. Hmm.
They ask these 15 questions that they answer. This is what takes 3 minutes. And they answer each one of these questions on a scale of 1 to 10. 10 is strong confidence, strongly agree. So this chief executive officer, Elias Jaden, as you can see from the blue, strongly agrees that their market position is strong. Their operational efficiency is strong. Customer retention is strong. Tech utilization, pretty strong as well. Strategic goal alignment and agility is very strong. That's what the blue represents, the CEO. The gray represents the average of the senior leadership team. I'm curious if you're watching as an audience, do you see some alignment or misalignment in this team here? Do you see how they may perceive things differently in the organization? In this case, the CEO versus the rest of the team. I'd like to give you a couple seconds here. I'd also like to give Ryan a couple moments here to consider this. I'd love to hear what you think. Are these people aligned? Because I'll tell you, this is pretty much an average kind of company in terms of just one particular role. We'll see another role here. Please share that in the comments. What do you see? What do you feel? What do you think is happening in this organization? Is this company doing well? I don't think there's a right answer. Ryan, what about you? What do you see when you see this?
Well, it's a visual representation of something that is very hard to see. A lot of things in business are very hard to see. The example that I just gave about the work order error that resulted in the wrong job being done at the customer site, the root cause for that is, relatively simple. There was a data error and we didn't ask for the right work to be done. This type of stuff, perception, is very, very hard to visualize. But what I love about this model is that it gives you that representation. And so I can tell you that, the CEO in blue does not feel that the company is very innovative. And that's interesting because innovation is such a process driven for a company. You can develop IP on the bench or somewhere, but getting it to market is an entirely process driven thing. So the CEO doesn't feel that they're particularly innovative, which is interesting because clearly other people in the org do. So the CEO may not be able to sell or communicate effectively about one of his or her company's strengths. If
Yeah.
they're particularly strong in innovation and the CEO doesn't believe or communicate that, there's a bunch of opportunity right there they may not be taking advantage of.
So I want to kind of distill that into and say that back to you another way. And I want everyone to make sure that they understand what Ryan is seeing here, right? So we're seeing this innovation score, this innovation dimension. The gray is the average of the team, and that's a very high score. This is about an 8 out of 10. Okay.
Mhm.
Whereas the CEO sees this as a 2 out of 10. And what I'm hearing from you, Ryan, is that, hey, the CEO is not believing that what we're doing as a company is extending a best foot forward in terms of what we have as capability in the industry that others, we're just not getting it forward. Others in the team believe we are getting it
Mhm.
forward. And I'm curious from the audience if anybody sees this as well. What do you think is the narrative? Because this is not about right or wrong. Uh, and Ryan, I'd love to hand that back to you. I think the gut reaction for me when I would see something like this, or somebody else could see this, is they say, "Well, then who's right or who's wrong?" Ryan, is that the right question?
No, definitely not. Is your company able um, to take advantage of opportunity? And does your company spend its time doing the right things? And that's all a decision-making process of the individuals that make up that company's culture. Culture, the world can leave you behind, if you don't have a good culture. And so, it just it when I think about this kind of stuff, I think about the psychographic of the company, not the demographic. Demographics, your age, race, that kind of stuff, but the psychographic is what is the mentality and culture of the leadership team or the company as a whole, which, like I said, is very hard to visualize. This gives me an understanding of what kind of questions to ask or how to get to what this company's pain points are. I mean, let's take another example. Another one that really jumps out to me that's really interesting. I just saw it a moment ago. Where is the
Maybe.
operation or yeah, brand reputation or gosh, that's not my wheelhouse. Let's do operational efficiency.
Sure.
So the CEO thinks that they are highly efficient in operations, which to me means there's good flow. They are asking to do the right things at the right time. However, the other people, perhaps the people who actually carry out the day to day, don't agree with that. So if the CEO is in a position where they're negotiating and they say yes, we can deliver that in 2 weeks, and they go back to their team and say yeah, we've got a 2 week lead time on this hot item, the team may say, well, they may not say anything because it's the CEO, but privately and between themselves, they may say, what the heck are we going to do? So my question also for that would be, do you feel that there is strong operational efficiency, or what challenges do you have with operational efficiency? And you may tease out millions of dollars of opportunity just based off of that.
So here's what I'd like to do. I mean, you've seen an example of what is possible now with this visualization, how much of a narrative you can start to see. I mean, we talked about there's communication, there's quality control, there's innovation, there's so many areas where there's a differential in perspective, and not about being right or wrong. It's different, and because they're seeing different, I mean, this is what I'd like you to kind of comment on here as a result of this kind of realization, or what I'm saying here, Ryan, is that there's sort of inefficiency built into the system right here, just in difference in perspective. So I want to share in the comments here a link to, if you would like to do this for yourself and start the process of understanding this inefficiency that's happening in the system, or just based on perspective of individuals in the organization. Here's a link that you're going to have in the comments here in a moment, because I'd like you to comment on that idea that we're coming back to the episode title, right? Your business is losing 30% of its revenue right now unless you fix
Mhm,
this. I mean,
mhm,
we're almost pointing to fix this, right?
mhm.
This is the visual. I want to go on to another one, but just to show you another person on the same team. Ryan, thoughts about that? I mean, is this showing us where some of that inefficiency might stem from?
Yeah, absolutely. It's hard because um, a lot of the customers that my clients and people I interact with, they started their business and they built it from scratch. Well, however much revenue they do per year, 4 million, 10 million, whatever it is, they built this thing and they are damn proud of it, and they should be. So how do you even approach a conversation with somebody that is successful and bright and ingenuitive and hardworking? And every business in the world wants to get better, but how, as a consultant, is someone that wants to be helpful to them and want to help them grow, how do you even broach this kind of thing without stepping on anybody's toes or indicating to them that they're wrong or could be better? And this is a huge question for me because I've got the skill set, I've got the tools, I know how to lead a Kaizen and make a value stream map and root cause analysis, fishbone diagrams, all those things. I know them backwards and forwards, but it means nothing if I'm not addressing what the company actually cares about and do it in a way that's positive and supportive.
So we saw the CEO of the company had a particular, I'll say, alignment, misalignment with the rest of the senior leadership team. I have
Mhm.
moved on to another leader of the team, the chief operating officer, Olivia Chen, in this case. Again, this is all real data from a real company, and I will tell you this is probably about as average as you'll get in terms of companies' alignment and misalignment. So this has happened to a lot of companies by just doing this diagnostic, which I've put into the comments if you'd like to try this for yourself, audience.
Mhm.
It'll take you 3 minutes. But Olivia Chen, slightly different narrative. I mean, what we saw as the CEO seeing market position, operational efficiency is so strong, right?
Mhm.
And agility being so strong, and strategic goal alignment being so strong for the CEO. We're seeing a different story here with the chief operating officer. Ryan, how you see this, right? Now you're
Yeah.
starting to see the differentials between the people and how they see a different narrative. Where does
Yeah.
this lead you in an organization? What sort of questions do you
Well,
start to ask to help
I
them
want to
move on?
talk to Olivia yesterday. She seems very smart. Well, not only is she aligned, she's right in line with the rest of the company on innovation, quality control, and global presence. So that's pretty cool to me. Overall, she seems pretty well aligned, but she doesn't feel the company is strong in its operational efficiency, market position, communication, or technology utilization. This tells me this person wants to get better. We're talking about psychographic of the companies. You've got to want to get better, and you've got to realize that teamwork is the best way to do it. And the types of questions that I would ask would be, when or how do you use technology to drive innovation? When or how do you use technology to understand your cost accounting? Or when or how do you use technology to understand employee satisfaction? And because those are things that Olivia thinks are strong. So are they leveraging technology? And I would just, if I had to hazard a guess, I imagine that she would probably not have a very a good answer for that, or her answer would be, "We're not." And now you're already at the point where technology that now now you're having the right conversations. You're addressing where the friction is for the company and the strengths right away, very quickly.
Yeah, so I want to bring this back to the audience here, right? Um, what have we done here, right? We've essentially visualized sort of the psychographics of what, and the word I use all the time is the narrative, the internal narrative of that individual, right?
Mhm.
We start to see each one of these individuals in a company how they see different things, and the differences between them is what is sort of the good stuff is in the middle. It's kind of the way I like to think of it, right?
Mhm.
It's all in the middle there, seeing how they have different narratives or the different psychographics of how they're approaching their roles or what they see in the company is where all the magic exists. That's the difference between good and great in my mind. If you want to be able to do this for your own organization, I'll put that link out there again for you to be able to do that. And you can actually have Ryan come through and give you a snapshot of how he would approach it and what sort of he's starting to see. So when I
Mhm.
put that link in the narrative in a couple of moments here, please feel free to fill that out, and I'll get you in touch with Ryan so he can walk through that for you. But I'd love to hear what you all are thinking. Do you all see these differences? Do you believe that this sort of thing is happening in your organization? And what do you think that's called? Because Ryan, what I'd like to do now is be a little more dramatic because I like to be a little dramatic. I want to show the whole team, and I know I'm scrolling back up here. There's a lot of pages here in this report. I'm going to zoom in just a bit more because there's a lot of text here, right? So this is now showing us the whole team, and I don't think we could start with an image like this because this is a lot to
Yeah.
look at here, right?
Yeah.
But we're seeing that gray area again, just has a black outline around it. This is showing the average of the team, the senior leadership team, and now you're starting to see every one of these different colors representing a different member of that team's point of view. And this, if you request the case study, you just type in case study, and I will send this to you so you can take your time to peruse through it at your leisure and ask any further questions. And I'm going to stop sharing in a moment here because I don't want people looking at the screen the whole time. Um, Ryan, you look at this. What kind of goes through your mind? What sort of questions, what structure, what tools, what frameworks do you start to employ with an organization that has something like this now?
Yeah. So, the principles of lean were born out of decades of problem solving in a business setting. And when I mentioned flow, I would encourage anybody that's on the podcast to read this book called Learning to See. And learning to see, because when I look at this, we're looking at culture, we're looking at perception, but the business has a process, a stream of processes that are done in sequence. And the result of that sequence is the business creates value. Value, I consider to be what the market pays you to do. And so, whether you're delivering a service, or you're a doctor, or you're a manufacturing company, you're delivering value through some sequence of services and processes. So, the very first question, and I would want to know which portion of their value stream is the one that's most impacted by these differences in perception, because that's where the money, the inefficiencies are just waiting to be looked at. There's, a lean practitioner such as myself, I've got my own approach. My approach is, I want to know if your business actually works. I want to get involved, collaborate with you to target an improvement that makes a rapid improvement, target an area that makes a rapid improvement for your company. A lot of lean experts are focused on mindset and training, to train your whole organization from top to bottom to think in a continuous improvement mindset. Those are all valuable things, but typically the business owners that I network with have something that they want to target and problem solve now. And it's through the result of those successes that the mindset may change. So that's a little bit different approach. But with my clients, I go one of two ways. I say, let's get your business's value stream and flow documented on one piece of paper with your executive team, so we can find out where those misalignments are. And your culture map radar, Vinay, would help me have those conversations and get into having those conversations sooner. And the other thing that I do is that I do targeted problem solving through containment action. So when I say containment action, I mean, you've got a problem, you're bleeding money or time or whatever it is, and we need to solve it yesterday effectively. To give you an example, a client of mine does 20% of their revenue through the VA. And the VA is a very large and complex government organization. And this particular client has one employee who understands how to get their revenue streams through the VA without revealing too much detail. This employee is mission critical to this business, and they have not documented, nor does the business owner understand how this person does their job. So there's a risk and liability to business continuity. So what I'm doing with this client is just in a very casual, very non-threatening, like we were talking about authority earlier. I have no authority, right? I'm going to get the creative input from this employee on how this job is done. And at the same time, we're going to work towards understanding the company's value, because a lot of folks are trying to use that authoritative approach, that top down management, to say, hey, you've got to write down how you do this so I can make sure that I understand it in case something happens to you. Well, that may or may not go well depending on the relationship that the business owner has with the employee. What
So
the service that I offer is, let's create a safe environment using my soft skills in a non-authoritative way to get their creative input, because I don't just want how they do their job. I want to know how they feel their job can be improved. That's where the real savings are.
that's interesting. I had a point in my company where I had asked everybody to create a checklist because I said, look, even pilots of airplanes and surgeons, maybe highly trained technicians all have checklists. And why?
Yeah.
And first week, no checklists were created. Second week, no checklists. And I said, hey, I want to kind of come back to this checklist. Why aren't you doing the checklist? You're probably thinking I'm asking you to do the checklist because I want to be able to replace you. And I can see how you would see that. But let
Knowledge
me
is
tell you,
power.
Yeah, that's right. And I said, but I'm going to kind of flip the script on you and tell you actually why I want the checklist.
Yeah.
I said, when you create that first version of a checklist, what are you demonstrating to me is your mastery over the topic, which I don't have.
Hmm.
And every time we come back to that checklist and I go through that checklist, I say, well, I got a question about this. You say, well, actually, that's not right. And I say, well, what do you mean? You say, well, I've gone through that process. And step 4, actually, there's a little more nuance to that. We need to update that checklist. So now we're at version 1.1. I couldn't do that. You could. So I
Hmm.
said, over time, basically what this checklist is doing is establishing your mastery in the company, right?
Hmm.
And I said, I would love for you to be able to take this checklist and show them, hey, when I started with working with this guy, I started, there was no version. We got to version 1, and by the time I left, we are version 8.5 or whatever it is.
Hmm.
Just because it demonstrates mastery. Because I think those people who are there, the boots on the ground are the ones who actually understand where the friction is. And you're just
Yeah.
basically saying, hey, help me understand where the friction is. You understand it better than I. Is that am I getting that right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I don't know, like I've got clients in all different types of sorts of businesses that I'm not an expert in. They're the expert, but the real experts are the people that work for them.
Yeah.
That's it's getting that. I can't say it enough. That collaborative, creative input from all levels of the organization is how you drive permanent, positive, sustainable improvements. And that's what I love to do is work with teams.
So let's walk through kind of what this would look like for somebody. Someone's listening here. They started to realize, and I mean, if the question is, hey, what specific inefficiencies are you going to identify in my company? I think you might be missing a little bit of the point. The fact is that every business is going to have its own bespoke and fingerprint or culture, right?
Mhm.
And therefore, it's going to have its own set of. I mean, all manufacturing companies that make cardboard boxes may have similar sets of inefficiencies, but it's unique to every company. Ryan, so if a company comes to you, let's say they were to get that diagnostic maybe as a starting point, and they
Mhm.
come back to you and they say, "Hey, look, here's what our whole team looks like."
Mhm.
What happens from there? How do you engage with them? How do you walk them through that process of where they now start to see what that inefficiency is, and what is potentially to be unlocked? What does that process look like for them?
Yeah, so I show them the tools. If you're going to go through a change, you need a structure, and no pun intended, but you need something to lean on as things around you begin to change. And so I let them know it's okay that if your business is chaotic, that's kind of the way I like it. I love to see that kind of stuff. But I show them the methodology that we're going to use. And the power of the methodology, it's born, like I said, through decades of problem solving in a business setting, is as we go through this, as we define your problems, how does your problem behave over time? What's its trend? What's really going on? What's the gap between where you are and where you want to go? And how do you define what your standard is going to be? And usually they'll say like, oh, I really, I don't want to have to drive around the triangle for 2 hours every other day taking photos when it's already available on MLS, but I have these restrictions. I have reinsurance. I have corporate guidelines. I have all these things. So we establish boundaries. What is in bounds for us? What can we actually focus on? And what is out of bounds? What's a no go? Don't even bother. And so now we're distilling what we're actually going to focus on, and we're distilling how we're going to do it, and then we're going to decide what are our actions and goals. And there's nothing mystical about it, but Franklin and Covey wrote a book about this called The Four Disciplines of Execution. And basically, what they're saying in that book is that the whirlwind of your job, the day to day of working in your business, takes up about 95% of your time. And if you really want to focus on making an improvement, you have to pick one or two things. In my background, I was a full-time operational excellence director, so had 10 different projects that we were trying to improve at once, and I always thought this is crazy. Let's pick one transformational thing and do it. But we distilled that effort down into one thing, and that's if they've got a specific thing that they can say, "Gosh, I don't know how to even get started, but this is a real thorn in my side." The other thing, and this is a really great scenario for the business owner, is they say, I'm doing X million dollars per year in revenue, and I want to double that. I want to get to double the size in 24 months, and I want to hire the people. I want to put in an executive team and really build a really big team or a really successful company. How do I do that? Well, that's when the flow really comes in. And let me give you an example. So, if you ever about the prank where somebody calls Domino's and says, "Can I get 25 extra large pepperoni pizzas shipped to Vinay's house?" And then the pizzas show up, and Vinay's like, "What the heck? I didn't order these. I didn't want these." That's that's what I would call push. Someone pushed on you 25 pizzas you didn't want. Another example is if I work in procurement for a manufacturing company and I buy $50,000 worth of raw materials and I walk out on my own fruition and I walk out to the shop floor and I say, "Hey, does anybody need these raw materials?" That's push. Now, pull is the complete opposite of that. Pull is when I call Domino's and I say, "Hey, I would like 25 extra large pizzas." I've requested from a business process to deliver value to me. In a manufacturing setting, the way this works is people place sales orders. So a sales order goes in, and the company determines, do we have any of these things in stock? If not, we need to make them. And in order to make them, we need to purchase the raw materials. So I'm pulling the raw materials through my business. So what I do with business owners is I work to establish pull. So to go back to the commercial mold remediation, what kind of inventory do you have in stock? What kind of consumables do you need to do mold remediation? Is it fans, chemicals? I don't honestly know, but how much do you need? How much do you spend on that? And do you only buy your consumables when your customers request them? How do you create a system that keeps a minimal amount of inventory? And how do you make sure that your inventory is always right so that you show up with the right stuff to do the right job? And if you can master that, we can definitely double the size of your company. So those are sort of the two major ways that I do those kinds of things by leveraging the lean principle. And it's really it's next to kin to magic, to be honest with you. And it's a profound methodology. And I used to have a job where I worked by myself almost all the time before I started my journey as a change management and team leader. And I hated working by myself. But the power of all these things is that it comes back to teamwork.
I love that understanding of the push and the pull. I don't think I've ever called them by those names before, but makes it's so intuitive
Yeah,
to hear it that way. And I think understanding those pushes and pulls sometimes it's difficult because you're too close to the action to be able to see it yourself what those push and pulls are until somebody just kind of asks it. It's about realizing about some things about yourself sometimes until
yeah,
someone else tells you you can't really understand some of the innate
yeah.
qualities or abilities that you have.
Yeah,
So
there's a really good, and there's YouTube videos about it. This guy Paul Akers, Akers. His business is phenomenal with this, and if you want to see sort of lean in action in a manufacturing setting, I would check out Paul Akers.
hmm, I will check that out myself. And for everyone else, Paul Akers, Akers, is what I wrote down here.
Yeah,
Um, we're getting close to the end of time. We Our episode was this idea about your business is losing 30% of its revenue right now unless you fix this. We went through and opened up how different perceptions of different individuals in the company can start to tell you the psychographic, as you call it, or the narrative,
mhm,
internal narrative is the way I saw it, right? What their perception is their reality. But I think that is the root or the stem of all things that could be caused within that organization. If somebody wants to get in touch with Ryan, I have put the link to get in touch with Ryan directly into the comments, so you can reach out to him directly. I've also put the link to myself. If you'd like to see that case study we went through, type in case study, and I'll be more than happy to send it to you so you can spend a little more time understanding that. But if you'd like to see where the inefficiency in your business is today, kind of just directionally, remember north, south, east, west, kind of sort of general directionality, not the exact problem. You want to find the direction that you need to point in. I put the URL just recently. I think the last comment I put in there, where you can take that, it'll take you about 3 minutes, and it'll start you on the process. Here's what will happen after you go through that diagnostic. I will make sure that Ryan takes a look at it and reaches out to you, so that you can start to see what psychographic Ryan is starting to see already from within your industry, and sort of the narrative that is starting to emerge. Because I think you'll find it's a really, really useful conversation that's going to expose. I mean, in some ways, Ryan, you're kind of like a mirror, right? You're kind of just showing back to them what they are that they may not necessarily see because everyone else is seeing it.
Yeah.
Is that a
Yeah.
fair way to say it?
Yeah, and I don't know if we explicitly stated this, but it's my experience has been that authority really makes those interactions hard. It sort of warps the way that creative input is given within a company. And so breaking down those barriers, understanding where they come from, and breaking down those barriers to achieve rapid improvement and realization of value is really the magic. My hypothesis for working for myself, for being an independent and working directly with clients and things like that, is that I'm that non-authoritative voice that helps drive that positive improvement.
So I'd highly encourage you to take a couple moments to do that. Find out for yourself where those ineffective processes are within your organization. Ryan's the perfect person to give you an insight into what that is. So click that link, go take that diagnostic. It'll take you 3 minutes. You'll be surprised what is possible, because it'll unlock your ability to understand how Ryan can help you. Because guess what? Blind spots, we all have them. We
Yep.
can't see them. I can see you in the camera right now, but and I can only assume what's behind me right now. And I kind of tend to think about that in business. There's some things that we can't see. Ryan, any closing thoughts or comments? I've appreciated. I feel like we've covered quite a bit.
Yeah, we have. No, this was great. Thank you very much. Thank you for giving me the chance to talk about my approach and the opportunities that I've seen recently. Every opportunity or every example I've given you today has come directly with someone I have met and talked to in the past couple months. So it's everywhere. It's out there, and I just want to reiterate that. For me, getting to the right conversations and asking the right questions is huge. And I really think that your tool that you've developed tonight is a great way to get that conversation started.
Well, thank you. And it's a partnership there, right? The As you said, if you don't ask the right questions, you can't get to the right answers. So
Yeah.
there's an opportunity for you to start to ask the right questions. The tool will start to help you direction understand what those questions are that you should be asking. And I hear people use the word efficiency all the time, but I don't think people really understand what it means when they use that word. They kind of just use it like the word Smurfy. I just throw it out all over the place. Uh,
Mhm.
Efficiency actually has real definition meaning, and bringing in an expert, a lean expert like Ryan, can help you take you to the next level. The difference between good and great. Thank you to everybody who's listened in to our podcast. If you're listening after the live event, please type in pound replay, share any of your comments or thoughts along the way. I'd love to hear them. I'd love to share them with Ryan, get you some answers. For those who listen in live, thank you for spending some of your time and day with us. But finally, Ryan, I appreciate you spending the time and
Yeah.
sharing with us your many years of experience and how people can start to think about efficiency and unlocking that 30%.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.